All right, everyone. Thanks for being here today. We're going to get started here in just a moment, but first, let's do some quick introductions. My name is Cam, and I'm joined by Emily. She's one of our online OSHA training leads here at Lancaster Safety. Emily's been with us for about 10 years, working with clients across a wide range of industries to help them understand OSHA requirements, and more importantly, how to actually build strong safety cultures. At Lancaster Safety, we work with companies nationwide to make OSHA training a lot more practical and a lot less overwhelming. So, whether you're out in the field, supervising crews, or managing safety programs, this topic is going to apply directly to you. Today, we're talking about something that most companies try to do, but very few actually use it to its full potential, and that's near miss reporting. So here's where we're headed today. We're going to start by making sure we're all on the same page about what a near miss actually is and why it matters more than most organizations realize. We'll also talk about how near misses directly connect to preventing serious incidents. From there, we're going to look at why near miss reporting for some companies is just not working. But in most cases, it's not that employees don't care, is that there's real barriers in place. Things like fear of blame, lack of follow up, or just systems that are too complicated to use. Then we'll shift into what actually works. We'll walk through practical ways to encourage reporting and how to create systems that are simple enough that your team will actually use them in the real world, not just on paper. And finally, we'll talk about how to turn all of that into something meaningful, how to take near miss data and use it to improve safety, strengthen communication, and build a strong, proactive safety culture over time. So by the end of today, you should walk away not just understanding near miss reporting, but having a clear idea of how to make it work in your organization.
Thanks, Cam. I'm really excited to be talking about this today because it is important. To get us started, I want to do a quick poll with our audience. So let me ask you all this. How many of you have ever seen something that almost went wrong, but you never reported it? No judgment here. Just be honest with your answers and go ahead and drop your answer in the chat. Where you see the little question tab, you can type your answer in there. All right, so I'll give everybody a few more seconds here, and we're starting to get some responses come in. So far, it looks like a mix of answers, and we definitely appreciate the honesty. But I am seeing a few comments about not having a reporting system in place, which is interesting. And honestly, it's actually pretty common. And this is exactly why this topic matters. What we typically see is that near miss reporting just isn't a priority for a lot of organizations. Or, like Cam said before, it exists on paper, but not in practice. But the reality is, near misses aren't just almost accidents. They're actually one of the most valuable tools that we have to prevent serious incidents and then build a stronger safety culture.
And I couldn't agree more. Now, when we're looking at what's considered a near miss, how do we define it in the simplest of terms?
The easiest way that I like to think of a near miss is a close call. And what's important to understand is these incidents are early warning signs that something in your process or environment or behavior isn't working the way it actually should. So, most of the time, these aren't big dramatic moments. They're everyday situations like slipping on a wet floor and catching yourself before you fall, tripping over a cord or uneven surfaces without actually getting hurt, dropping a tool from above that almost hits someone. It could be a box falling off a shelf but missing a worker, or nearly backing into someone with a vehicle or forklift but hitting the brakes just in time. And the important thing to understand here is that these are not just random events, these are warnings.
Okay, and give me your honest opinion here. If near miss reporting is so powerful, why doesn't everyone do it?
Well, that's a great question. And we actually saw some of this come through in the poll earlier. And one of the biggest reasons is fear. People are thinking, well, am I going to get blamed for this? Am I going to get in trouble? Another common issue is the process itself. If the reporting form is too long or there's too much paperwork, it starts to feel like more trouble than it's actually worth. But on the flip side, sometimes there's just no system at all. No clear way to report a near miss, so people just move on. And one of the most frustrating ones that we hear is when someone does report something and nothing happens. There's no follow up, there's no feedback, no visible action has taken place. And that can feel really discouraging. And honestly, it sends the message that reporting doesn't even matter. So if your team isn't reporting near misses, it's usually not a people problem, it's a system problem.
And I appreciate that insight. Now, say I'm a supervisor and I need to convince upper management to prioritize near miss reporting. It might not cost money, but it does cost time, and that's important. What would you say the top benefits of near miss reporting are, and how can I sell them on making it a priority?
Well, from my personal experience, most safety leaders already understand the value of being proactive and wanting to prevent incidents before they happen. The challenge usually isn't awareness, it's just follow through and making sure everyone remembers to do it. When you start doing this consistently, you do see a shift from being reactive to proactive. And it looks something like this. Instead of saying someone got hurt, now we fix it, you're saying we saw the risk and we eliminated it before anyone got hurt. And that's just a completely different mindset. The second thing is you start getting real data, not assumptions, but actual patterns. So you'll start noticing when the same hazards show up again and again in the same location during the same task. And that's incredibly valuable because now you can fix the root issue and not just the outcome. And the third, this is the big one, is you build trust. When employees see that their concerns are taken seriously and action actually happens, they start to believe, okay, well, this company actually cares about my safety. And this is exactly what drives culture. So, to summarize all of that, the top three selling points for prioritizing near misses are one, being proactive to prevent costly accidents, two, gather data and let the numbers speak for themselves, and you can find out where your real issues are. And then lastly, building a safety culture that gets everyone on board with safety and in turn lowers your risks.
That's interesting. So you mentioned that building a strong safety culture is one of the top benefits of near miss reporting. But let's dive deeper and talk about how exactly it does that.
Well, safety culture isn't just a concept. It's really a way of working and living each day. It can be hard to define, but basically, what you start to see over time is a shift in behavior. If you prioritize near miss reporting, you start to create awareness to safety and health hazards. People start thinking, oh, well, this happened to someone I know, so it could happen to me. It makes those hazards hit home a little bit more. People also start noticing hazards earlier, things they might have walked past before. Now they're recognizing and thinking about it differently. So then in turn, you start to see ownership. Employees begin to understand that safety isn't just about following the rules, it's something they're actively a part of. They see their role in building a safer workplace. From there, communication improves. And this part is huge because the more conversations you have around safety, the stronger your team will become. People are more willing to speak up, share concerns, and look out for each other. You also start to reinforce positive behavior. So instead of feeling like they'll get in trouble, workers begin to feel proud of reporting near misses because they know they're helping prevent something much bigger. Lastly, it gets everyone involved. Safety stops feeling like one person's responsibility. It becomes something that people at every level take part in, and that's when you really start to see a culture shift. Now, I also want to emphasize that safety culture doesn't just happen. It's not just a poster on the wall or a creative safety slogan, and it's definitely not built overnight. It takes work, reinforcement, reminders, it takes dedication, consistency, and action. So stay with me here, and I'll go over my number one tip to make this easy. So, this is where most programs fail. They say report near misses, but don't set it up in a way that actually works. So, let's fix that. Leaders have to talk about near misses openly and share their own examples. They really need to thank people for reporting these. They should frame it in a positive light. So, a near miss is a free lesson. Nobody got hurt. What can we learn from this to keep others safe? And how can we avoid this from happening again? So, if leadership treats reporting as important, workers will too. Next, you have to make it simple. No one wants to fill out a two-page form. So just keep it to the basics, the information you really need to know, the date, the location, what happened, what the immediate action is, and what the suggested fix is. That's it. Also consider maybe a mobile reporting process, quick cards or even anonymous options.
And to add to that, we're also giving a free near miss reporting form that you can use to get started. We'll post a link to download in the chat.
Thanks, Cam. And the next part is you want to train on what a near miss is. So don't just assume people know what a near miss is and what they need to do when they experience one. For training, consider using toolbox talks during pre-shift huddles or reinforce the importance by giving examples regularly.
Toolbox talks are a great resource. And we're also going to give you a free near miss toolbox talk that you can use as part of your training. We'll post a link in the chat.
Awesome. I love a good freebie. The next part is you really should respond fast. This is critical. If someone reports something, acknowledge it quickly and fix it quickly. Otherwise, reporting dies. Number 5, recognize the near miss that was reported. When employees report near misses, they're helping identify hazards before someone gets hurt, protecting their coworkers, and strengthening the overall safety culture. So you can show recognition in many ways, and a few simple ideas include shout outs in meetings, a small reward, or safety recognition boards. By recognizing these actions, we show that speaking up truly does make a difference. If you collect several near miss forms, you should start analyzing the data. But what do you look for? Turning near miss data into real safety improvements is where most programs either succeed or completely stall. The data itself isn't the value, what you do with it is. Here's how to turn that raw reporting into meaningful, visible safety gains. Look for patterns, not one off events. One near miss is interesting. 5 similar near misses, that's a system problem. You want to analyze the trends. Look for trends like the same hazard showing up repeatedly, the same crew, supervisor, or type of job, or the same time of day. This is where near misses become predictive, not just reactive. Next, identify root causes. If your conclusion is that the worker wasn't paying attention, you've stopped too early. Use simple tools like 5 whys. For example, the near miss identified that a worker slipped. Ask yourself why roughly 5 times until you trace the problem backwards. Why? There was a wet surface. Why? Poor housekeeping. Why? No clear ownership of cleanup. Now you found something you can actually fix. Prioritize what matters most. Not every near miss needs the same level of response. Focus on high risk or high potential incidents such as repeated hazards or anything tied to serious injury or fatality. Ask yourself, if this went wrong next time, how bad could it be? Turn insights into actions. This is where culture is built. Data doesn't improve safety, actions do. A few examples of meaningful improvements could include installing guardrails, ventilation, or tool redesign, implementing new procedures like JHAs or scheduling changes, or better selection or enforcement of PPE. Tie every trend to a specific corrective action with an owner and deadline. You'll want to track leading indicators as well. Measure what actually drives improvement, the number of reported near misses, time to close corrective actions, or how many repeat hazards were reduced. This shifts focus from how many people got hurt to how many risks did we eliminate. Now, a really effective way to make near miss reporting actually work is to build it into your safety committee meetings. So earlier I mentioned that Lancaster Safety has a #1 tip for building a safety culture. Cam, do you have any guesses what that might be?
As you're a member of our own, I'm going to guess safety committee, and that's also listed on the slide.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And I know not everyone here has a safety committee, or maybe you've heard of one but haven't set one up yet. And that's okay. We won't go too deep into it today, but just know that we do have full webinars on how to implement a safety committee, and we can drop that link in the chat if you want to explore it further. Now, at its core, a safety committee is simply a group of team members who meet regularly to talk about safety, what's working, what's not, and what the risks are. And there are a few big benefits here. First, it creates structure. You're not just reacting to incidents, you're consistently talking about safety. Having an agenda, documenting meetings, and tracking discussions doesn't just help you stay organized, it also shows a clear commitment to safety, which can go a long way during something like an OSHA inspection. It gets people involved from all areas of the company, especially those doing the hands on work. And those are the people who really understand where the risks are. When they're part of the conversation, you start uncovering hazards that might otherwise go unnoticed. So over time, something interesting happens. People become more aware. They start looking at their work differently. You build that safety mindset across the team, not just from the top down. And the good news is, it does not have to be complicated. You just need a set time, a place to meet, and a simple planned agenda. And that's it. So once you've established a safety committee, you can easily add near miss reporting to your ongoing agenda. So this way it becomes a standard part of every meeting and it doesn't get overlooked. Each meeting, review any near misses that were reported, look for patterns, and talk through what can be improved. That's how near miss reporting goes from something people submit to something your team actually uses.
And that leads us to the next piece, how we talk about near misses, because that makes all the difference.
No, it definitely does make the difference. And if we don't talk about near misses, most people will never hear if anything was done about it. If people don't see the results, they are not going to see the value. And if they don't see the value, they'll stop reporting. So you have to let people know. And this step is critical for keeping your near miss program alive. The good news is, again, this does not have to be complicated. You can communicate updates through a quick in person or toolbox meeting, a short virtual or remote meeting, a recorded video update sent out to employees, or a safety bulletin board or printed update highlighting changes. There's really no single right way to do it. The key is just consistency and visibility. And just as important, how you communicate matters. Keep it positive and focus on improvement. What was identified? What was fixed? How it makes the job safer. This reinforces a simple but powerful message. When you report something, we act on it. And that's what builds trust and it drives more reporting.
Let's look at a few good examples of communicating near misses because it's easier said than done.
Exactly. And we want to communicate the wins too. So here's a quick example. Instead of saying we had 12 near misses, say because of near miss reporting, we fixed ladder access issues and prevented a potential fall. Notice the difference here. One version points to a person, the other points to a problem that we can fix. So here's another one. Instead of saying, John was operating a piece of equipment and almost ran someone over, say, because of near miss reporting, we identified a blind spot between equipment and pedestrian traffic. We've now created a designated walking path and restricted equipment access in that area to prevent a potential struck by incident. If your near miss story names a person first, you're doing it wrong. If it names a hazard and a fix, you're building culture. Okay, one more. Instead of saying, Beth smelled something strong while working that made her cough, say, because of near miss reporting, we identified inadequate ventilation and improved airflow controls and PPE requirements. Near miss data is only valuable if it leads to better awareness, better systems, and safer behaviors. Otherwise, it's just paperwork. When communicated right, we go from blame to improvement, and near miss reporting becomes a feedback loop that continuously strengthens your safety culture.
I know that you recently interviewed one of our clients, International Construction Services, and they're based in the Carolinas. It was about their safety culture and approach to near miss reporting. Their crews regularly work at heights on roofing projects, including repairs, maintenance, replacements, and new construction for both residential and commercial properties. They also respond to storm damage projects, where conditions can introduce additional hazards and risks. Let's take a look at that interview and hear directly from them about their experience.
What is your role with ICS?
My role is general manager at ICS.
Okay. And who oversees safety on all the jobs? Is that you? Is that a team lead at every job? How does that work?
So I'll answer that question a little bit differently. I really give the responsibility of safety to everybody at my company from the top down. So although my area managers have direct site supervision of their jobs day in and day out, I make job site visits and I'm the safety manager. If I have one of my warehouse staff run material out to a job site, they're a safety manager. I really try and make it so that it's a holistic approach to if you see something, say something, right? From just even a crew lead up on the roof themselves, seeing another crew on down the street, right? Everyone has responsibility for safety here.
Awesome. And so, I mean, you kind of led me into the next question. What does safety look like day to day? It sounds like everybody's pretty involved, everybody's on board with it.
Yeah, we strive for. I come from a Fortune 500 company that really focused on the mindset of 24/7 safety, and I brought that culture over to this company because I truly believe in it. It's safety isn't just hey, I'm at work and I have to be safe. Safety is hey, I'm safe when I drive to work. I'm safe when I drive home from work. I'm safe when I'm at the house. I'm safe when I'm at work, of course, because it's when we're most important doing these kind of these dangerous jobs, being up on the roof and installation and whatnot.
Awesome. Yeah, one of the things that we say here is that safety isn't something you did, it's something you do. So we try to
Yeah.
keep it ongoing in the forefront of our minds and just do every job as safely as possible. So in the day to day, do you meet regularly to talk about the job and the safe aspects there? Do you meet once a month in your safety committee? How does that look?
So we do toolbox talks on site with our guys. We try to do it weekly within each area that we operate in, which is a couple different cities around South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia. My area managers bring the guys down from the roof, say, "Hey, I'm doing a quick inspection on you. Everything looks good," or "Hey, did a quick inspection and I didn't find everything to be satisfactory. We need to go over a couple items." But either way, a safety check has been completed, and they review all the main safety topic points that we have. And we go through a little toolbox talk if there's anything specific outside of what they would do on a day-to-day basis, like bloodborne pathogens or something along those lines, where it's kind of a specialty topic. Um, as far as the safety committee goes, because the entire staff has responsibility for safety, I review them in my production meetings instead of setting out a special safety committee, right? I want everyone to have an involvement within that safety mindset at the culture of the company. Um, so if we're sitting here and we can talk about office safety, we can talk about warehouse safety, we can talk about job site safety, we can talk about safety at home, safety while driving defensively. Because of course, we have fleet trucks too. It's not just when people drive their personal cars.
No, I think that's great, and it makes everybody feel involved. And so, as far as near miss reporting goes, do you feel like your employees are comfortable reporting that? I mean, it sounds like they're pretty on top of, letting you know when things aren't maybe looking right or their inspections aren't coming out the way they should. So it sounds like you have a good communication that's open and safe for them.
Yeah, no, near misses are super important to me because they're a great topic of conversation for these production meetings to go over and say, hey, look, by the way, and what a great example is actually something that happened recently down in Charleston is where the framers had attached something not particularly well to the side of a building. It was a little kind of roof overhang eyebrow, and my guy got up on it to start installing shingles, and the whole thing fell off the side of the building. So of course, a huge issue to begin with,
Yeah.
but nobody was injured, thankfully, and we were able to immediately take, hey. My area manager called me after the crew called him and said, hey, here's what's going on. I said, okay, I need you to contact the builder. I need you to get the installer back out to the job site. And I need you to be on the job site. And I need photo documentation. I need a written report. I need a report from the actual installer that saw it happen or it happened to. And I need to make sure that the builder is aware that every single one of these eyebrows need to be checked. I need to go through all of the buildings, apartment complex. So you're talking about 10, 12 buildings with multiple of these eyebrows. Like, guys, look, I'm not going to get back up on this roof until we verify that it's safe. Not that this one was the unsafe one and you guys, oh, no, you're fine. It's no, prove to me that they are safe. Um, and that, just as an example for near miss, is a great opportunity to say, we need to take a step back. We need to hit pause, not just sweep it under the rug and move on. We need to learn from it and maybe know for next time, like, ooh, maybe before I get up on something that's not particularly part of the building, let's test the structural integrity or verify that it's attached appropriately first. Great kind of good example to learn from without anybody ever getting harmed.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely good to know. So, what do you think? I'm going to put you on the spot here. What do you think would be a piece of advice that you could offer to, people just getting started with a safety program or a safety culture, or encouraging near miss reporting? What do you think is something that's worked for you that you could share?
I think when I first started working kind of within the industry from distribution over to the installation side, safety was always when you're new, sounds like this big scary thing. And when you go into management, it's even worse because now you've got reporting, you've got OSHA logs, you've got all the different paperwork that comes along with it. So it looks like this really daunting task. If you stop for a little bit and change your mindset to say, hey, this isn't about making sure that I hit every nail on the head appropriately, that I make sure every regulation is followed. We aim for that perfection every single day, but stop worrying about it. Just focus on being safe. You know what's right and what's wrong, but trying to make it this big daunting task item of safety and regulations and laws and all this other stuff, I think it gives safety a bad rap, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, if we want to come in better than we came in, to go home to our families, right? How do we do that? Well, depending on your occupation or your job or what's going on, you do one, two, three, four, five, right? And if you do those things, then more than likely that's what's going to happen. That's why that's there. So they're in place for a reason. So making it a fun and engageable item and not a daunting or fear task, I think changes your entire and your staff's entire outlook on safety as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you remove the element of just checking the boxes and actually making
Mhm.
it the whole culture, that's kind of how it all comes together. So,
Yeah.
um, thank you so much for all of that information. We appreciate it, and we hope that this benefits other companies listening.
That was a very, very cool interview. I especially liked his advice for companies just getting started with safety and kind of taking things little at a time. Safety is really a series of smart decisions, isn't it?
For sure. I really loved doing that interview, and I was so impressed by how quickly they responded to the near miss and the level of accountability that Warren demonstrated as the general manager. As soon as the incident occurred, they began communicating with everyone involved on the job. And from there, they thoroughly documented the event with photographs, written reports, and a witness statement. They also thought about the other apartment buildings being built and asked themselves, well, could this happen again? What really stood out to me was Warren's mindset. He said, this is an opportunity, so let's pause and learn from it. We just talked about effective ways to communicate about near misses, and that's a great example of positive safety leadership. There was never any finger pointing or blame. Instead, the focus was on learning, improving, and protecting the team. You can hear in the way that Warren speaks that International Construction Services has a genuine company wide commitment to safety. They understand that no organization is perfect, but they work every day to create a safer workplace and ensure everyone goes home safely. And that's exactly why near miss reporting matters. The lessons learned from this one event could very well prevent the next near miss or even a serious injury in the future.
International Construction Services went the extra step to pull their employees on this topic. Let's take a quick listen.
Hey everybody, this is Frank Pelletier with ICS. If I almost had an accident, I would stop at that moment after it had happened. I would evaluate what did happen or almost did happen and make sure that we went over the process to make sure that nothing would happen again in that situation. Actually, I have, and usually what we do is we get everybody down if there's someone else involved, make sure we go over the situation so that we can prevent anything bad from happening. So I do feel comfortable in reporting any issues, and it's my job to make sure that everybody goes home safe.
As we're nearing the end of our time today, what key points do you want everyone to remember?
Well, I'll leave you with this. A strong safety culture is not built by policies, it's built by people. Every near miss reported is a hazard identified, a risk reduced, and a life potentially protected. So the question isn't, do we have a reporting system? The real question is, do people feel safe using it? Because when they do, that's when safety culture really starts to grow. Near misses are free lessons before someone gets hurt. Reporting should always be encouraged because it's one of the best ways to prevent future incidents. But reporting only works if people trust the system. And so that means three things. They know they won't get in trouble, the process is simple, and they believe something will actually be done about it. And that last one is the most important.
I just want to take a moment to thank you for joining today's webinar. We hope the information shared helps your organization recognize the value of near miss reporting and supports your efforts to strengthen overall safety culture. Every workplace faces different safety challenges, and staying ahead of OSHA requirements, training needs, and workplace risks can be difficult. Lancaster Safety works with organizations to provide practical guidance, training, and compliance support to help create safer workplaces. If you'd like additional information or assistance with your safety and compliance efforts, visit lancastersafety.com or call 888 403 6026. We'd also appreciate your feedback, so please leave us a message in the chat. Thank you again and have a safe day.